There are two kinds of people in this world: those who wait until change forces them to act, and those who prepare before the pressure arrives. The first group spends their lives reacting, scrambling, adjusting to circumstances they didn't see coming. The second group moves through life with a strange kind of ease. They seem lucky. They seem to always be in the right place at the right time. But it's not luck. It's preparation. They saw what was coming. They positioned themselves. They did the internal work before external circumstances demanded it. Right now, you're standing at the edge of something. You can feel it, a transition, a shift, the sense that the next phase of your life is approaching, and that who you are now might not be adequate for who you need to become. This feeling is not anxiety. It's awareness. It's your mind recognizing that change is inevitable and asking the most important question you can ask. Will I be ready when it arrives? Most people ignore this question. They tell themselves they have time. They'll prepare when they need to. They'll change when circumstances force them to. And this delay, this casual approach to one of the most critical periods of their lives, costs them everything. Because by the time circumstances force change, it's too late to prepare properly. You're in reactive mode, survival mode, crisis mode. And in that state, you make poor decisions. You act from fear instead of clarity. You accept less than you could have had if you'd been ready. The people who succeed, who build wealth, who create the lives they want, they don't wait for circumstances to force change. They prepare ahead of time, quietly, deliberately, without fanfare. While everyone else is coasting, they're sharpening themselves, strengthening their discipline, clarifying their direction, building the habits and mindsets that will allow them to seize opportunity when it appears. And when circumstances shift, when the moment arrives, they're ready. Not lucky, ready. You have a choice to make right now. Will you be someone who prepares before pressure arrives? Or someone who scrambles when change forces your hand? Will you enter the next phase of your life stronger, clearer, and more capable? Or will you stumble into it unprepared and spend years recovering from that lack of preparation? The choice is yours. But understand this: the time to prepare is now, not later, not when you feel ready, not when circumstances demand it. Now, what I'm about to share with you is not theory, it's not motivational fluff, it's practical reality based on observing human behavior for decades. Some people prepare, most people don't, and the difference in their outcomes is so dramatic that it looks like entirely different species living entirely different lives. Same opportunities, same time frames, radically different results, all because one group prepared and the other didn't. Here's what most people don't understand about time and transition. Certain years act as psychological turning points, not because the calendar matters inherently, but because human minds mark time in patterns, new decades, milestone birthdays, round numbers. These moments create natural reflection points where people pause and evaluate their lives. Where am I? Where did I think I'd be? Where am I going? The problem is most people do this reflection but take no action. They notice they're not where they want to be. They feel dissatisfied. They make vague resolutions. And then they return to the exact same habits, mindsets, and behaviors that created their current situation. Nothing changes. Another year passes. Another opportunity to prepare wasted. The people who succeed do something different. They recognize these transition points as preparation periods. They understand that the space between where you are and where you want to be must be filled with deliberate development. You don't just wish yourself into a new life. You don't stumble into wealth and success. You prepare for it. You build the capacity for it. You become the person who can handle it before it arrives. This is the principle most people never grasp. Preparation always precedes opportunity. Not sometimes. Always. You might think opportunity comes first and you figure it out as you go. But that's not how it works. Opportunity is constantly present. It's flowing past you right now. But you can't see it or seize it because you're not prepared. Your mind isn't trained to recognize it. Your habits aren't aligned to pursue it. Your discipline isn't strong enough to sustain the effort required. When opportunity appears to arrive suddenly, when someone seems to get a lucky break, what's actually happened is this. They were preparing long before that moment, building skills, developing relationships, strengthening character. And when the opportunity appeared, they were ready to recognize and seize it. The preparation was invisible. The opportunity looked sudden, but the success was years in the making. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. I once knew a man who worked a modest job in insurance. Not glamorous, not exciting, just steady work that paid the bills. But this man was different from his coworkers. While they complained about their jobs and waited for something better to come along, he was preparing. Every morning before work, he read for an hour. Books on business, investing, psychology, sales. Every evening, he studied successful people. How they thought, how they made decisions, what principles guided them. His coworkers thought this was odd. Why are you working so hard when you're not getting paid for it? Why are you reading about business when you're just an insurance agent? But this man understood something they didn't. He was preparing for a future that hadn't arrived yet. He was building capacity for opportunity that hadn't appeared yet. He was becoming someone different while his circumstances remained the same. 5 years passed. One of his clients mentioned he was selling his small financial services firm. He was retiring and looking for someone to take it over. To everyone's surprise, this insurance agent stepped forward. He had saved money. He had studied business principles. He had developed relationships. He had prepared. He bought the firm. Within 3 years, he had tripled its value. Within 10 years, he had built it into a multi-million-dollar operation. His former coworkers called it luck, being in the right place at the right time. But it wasn't luck. It was preparation. That opportunity was available to anyone in that man's network. Anyone could have bought that firm, but only he was prepared. Only he had the knowledge, the capital, the confidence, and the vision to seize it. Now contrast this with another story, a woman I'll call Sarah. Sarah was talented, creative, full of ideas and ambition. She talked constantly about starting her own business, building something meaningful, creating financial independence. And she genuinely believed she would do it someday, when the time was right, when circumstances aligned. But Sarah never prepared. She talked about her business ideas, but never studied business principles. She dreamed of financial independence, but never developed financial discipline. She wanted to build something meaningful, but never practiced the small disciplines that build big results. She was waiting for inspiration, waiting for the perfect idea, waiting for circumstances to push her into action. Then something happened that forced her hand. Her company downsized and she lost her job. Suddenly, starting her own business wasn't an exciting possibility. It was a desperate necessity, and she wasn't ready. She had no capital saved, no clear plan, no developed skills, no network to leverage. She scrambled. She stressed. She took whatever opportunities appeared out of fear rather than choosing strategically from a position of strength. Sarah eventually found another job. She gave up on the business idea entirely. Too risky, she told people. Too hard. Not the right time. But the real reason was simpler. She hadn't prepared. When the moment arrived that could have launched her into entrepreneurship, she wasn't ready. And because she wasn't ready, she retreated to safety. 2 people. Similar abilities. Completely different outcomes. Why? One prepared before circumstances demanded it. The other waited until crisis forced action. One positioned themselves for opportunity. The other reacted to circumstances. One built capacity ahead of time. The other tried to build it under pressure. This pattern repeats everywhere you look. The people who succeed are not the most talented. They're not the luckiest. They're the most prepared. They did the work before they had to. They developed themselves before circumstances required it. They became ready before opportunity appeared. And here's what you need to understand. Right now, you're in a preparation period. You might not feel it. You might think you have time, but you don't. Not in the way you think, because preparation takes time. Building new habits takes months. Developing new skills takes months. Changing identity takes months. Strengthening discipline takes consistent daily practice over extended periods. If you wait until circumstances demand these changes, you won't have time to develop them properly. You'll be forced to change under pressure. And change under pressure is painful, chaotic, and usually incomplete. But if you prepare now while circumstances are stable, you develop these capacities deliberately, with intention, with proper foundation. And when circumstances shift, you're ready. So what exactly must you prepare? What areas of yourself must be strengthened before the next phase begins? Let me be specific. First, preparation begins in the mind. Most people focus on external changes, new goals, new strategies, new tactics. But external change without internal change is temporary at best and destructive at worst. You can't sustain behaviors that don't align with your identity. You can't maintain success that exceeds your mental capacity for it. Your mind must change first. How you think about yourself, how you interpret circumstances, what you believe is possible, what you expect from yourself. These mental patterns determine everything else. If your mind is filled with doubt, limitation, and fear, no amount of external action will produce lasting success. But if your mind is clear, confident, and expectant, external success becomes natural. This mental preparation is not quick. It's not a weekend workshop or a motivational video. It's daily practice over months. It's deliberately choosing thoughts, interrupting negative patterns, reinforcing beliefs that serve you, eliminating beliefs that limit you. It's training your mind the way an athlete trains their body, with consistency, with intensity, with clear purpose. Most people never do this work. They think their thoughts are automatic, beyond their control. They accept whatever thoughts their minds produce and consider them reality. But your thoughts are not reality, they're interpretations. And interpretations can be changed, but only through deliberate, sustained effort. Second, discipline compounds before results appear. This is crucial to understand. When you start building discipline, nothing changes externally. You make your bed, go to the gym, read instead of scrolling, and your life looks the same. Your bank account doesn't increase. Your body doesn't transform overnight. Your business doesn't suddenly succeed. This lack of immediate results discourages most people. They think discipline isn't working. They don't see the point. So they quit. They return to undisciplined habits and wonder why their lives never improve. What they don't understand is that discipline is compounding silently. Every day you honor your commitments to yourself, you're building something invisible but essential. Self-trust, mental strength, the capacity to do what needs doing regardless of how you feel. This compounds over time. After weeks of small disciplines, you have momentum. After months, you have identity. You're not someone trying to be disciplined. You are disciplined. And that identity shift changes everything. Because a disciplined person makes different choices, sees different opportunities, persists through different obstacles. But you must build this capacity before you need it. You can't develop discipline under pressure. Pressure reveals discipline. It doesn't create it. If discipline isn't already built, when pressure arrives, you'll crack. You'll revert to old patterns. You'll make decisions from weakness rather than strength. Third, clear direction reduces anxiety about the future. Most people are anxious about what's coming because they don't know where they're going. They're floating, drifting, reacting to whatever comes their way. This creates constant low-level stress, uncertainty about whether they're on the right path, fear about whether they'll end up where they want to be. But when you have clear direction, when you know exactly where you're going and why, anxiety decreases dramatically. Not because the future is certain. It's not. But because you have a framework for making decisions. Does this move me toward my aim or away from it? This simple filter eliminates most confusion and doubt. Establishing clear direction requires you to decide, not hope, not wish. Decide. What do you actually want? Not what sounds good. Not what others expect. What do you want enough to sacrifice for? To work for? To persist through difficulty for? Answer that question clearly and most of your mental chaos resolves. But most people never answer it. They keep their goals vague. They hedge. They want success but won't define what success means. They want wealth but won't specify how much or by when. This vagueness feels safe. It protects them from the pressure of commitment, but it also guarantees they'll never arrive anywhere meaningful. Fourth, habits formed early determine outcomes later. This is a law of human development. The habits you establish during preparation periods determine what you're capable of during performance periods. If you've built habits of discipline, focus, and consistent action, you can handle high-pressure situations. If you haven't, you can't. Think about athletes. They don't develop their skills during the game. They develop them during thousands of hours of practice before the game. When game time arrives, they simply execute what they've already built. The pressure reveals their preparation. It doesn't create new capabilities. Your life works the same way. The habits you're building right now, today, are determining what you'll be capable of when opportunity or crisis arrives. If you're building strong habits, you'll be ready. If you're letting habits slide, telling yourself you'll get serious later, you won't be ready. And when the moment comes, you'll wish you had prepared. Fifth, identity must change before circumstances can. This is perhaps the most important point. You cannot create a life that exceeds your identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with money, you'll struggle with money even if opportunities appear. If you see yourself as someone who never follows through, you won't follow through even when motivation is high. Your identity is your ceiling. Changing identity requires two things. First, deciding who you intend to become, not who you are now. Who you're becoming. Second, acting consistently as that person would act. Not waiting until you feel like that person. Acting as that person now. Your brain learns identity through behavior. When you consistently behave like a disciplined person, your brain eventually accepts that you are a disciplined person. But this takes time. Months of consistent action. You can't fake it for a week and expect your identity to shift. You must persist until the new identity becomes natural. Until it's not an act anymore. Until you genuinely see yourself differently because you've consistently acted differently. Now here's something most people miss. They underestimate how quickly circumstances change once momentum begins. They think change is slow, gradual, linear, so they don't feel urgency about preparing. They think they have plenty of time to get serious later. But change isn't linear, it's exponential. Nothing happens for months. You're working, preparing, building. No visible results. Then suddenly everything moves at once. Opportunities appear, connections form. Resources flow. What took months to build takes days to manifest. This is why preparation is so critical. Because you can't predict when momentum will hit. You can't know when opportunity will appear. But if you're not prepared when it does, you miss it. And opportunities like that don't come around repeatedly. They appear for those who are ready and pass by those who aren't. I've watched this happen countless times. Someone prepares quietly for years. Nothing dramatic happens. Then suddenly, within months, their entire life transforms. New business takes off. Investment pays massively. Opportunity appears that changes everything. From the outside, it looks lucky. From the inside, it's the inevitable result of years of preparation finally reaching critical mass. But I've also watched people miss these moments. They were preparing, or they thought they were. But they weren't consistent enough, weren't disciplined enough, weren't mentally ready enough. And when their moment came, they hesitated. They doubted. They weren't positioned correctly. And the opportunity passed to someone who was ready. This is the danger of delay. You think you're fine because nothing is demanding change right now. But momentum can shift instantly. And if you're not prepared when it shifts, you miss your window. Maybe for years. Maybe forever. This is why urgency matters, not panic, not stress. Quiet, focused urgency that recognizes preparation takes time and time is limited. So what must you do specifically? What actions must you take in the months ahead to ensure you're ready when circumstances shift? Let me guide you through exactly what preparation looks like. First, clarify who you intend to become before the next phase begins. Not what you want to achieve, who you want to be. This is an identity question. What kind of person has the life you want? What do they believe? How do they think? How do they make decisions? What habits do they maintain? Define this person clearly. Write it down. Be specific. Then ask yourself honestly, how far am I from that person? What's the gap between who I am now and who I need to become? Don't judge this gap. Just observe it, because that gap represents your preparation work. Closing that gap is what the next months are for. Second, eliminate habits that weaken focus and discipline. You can't build strong new habits while maintaining weak old ones. The old habits will always win. They're established, they're comfortable, they're automatic. New habits require conscious effort. If you're trying to build discipline while maintaining undisciplined habits, you're fighting yourself. Look at your current habits honestly. Which ones serve the person you're becoming? Which ones belong to the person you were? The distractions, the comforts, the easy escapes. They must go. Not because they're evil, but because they're incompatible with where you're going. You can't scroll mindlessly for hours and build a meaningful business. You can't binge entertainment nightly and develop expertise. You can't indulge weakness and build strength. Choose. Third, strengthen daily routines that build clarity and control. Your morning routine determines your day. Your evening routine determines your morning. If these routines are chaotic, if your life will be chaotic, if they're intentional, your life will reflect that intention. Build routines that serve you. Morning routine that creates clarity and energy. Evening routine that processes the day and prepares you for rest. During the day, routines that maintain focus and momentum. These don't need to be complicated. Simple is better, but they must be consistent. Because consistency creates compound effects that intermittent effort never produces. Fourth, begin acting consistently without waiting for motivation. This is where most people fail. They wait to feel motivated before they act. But motivation is a feeling. Feelings are unreliable. They come and go based on mood, energy, circumstances. If you only act when motivated, you'll act occasionally. And occasional action produces minimal results. Discipline means acting regardless of motivation. You committed to something. You do it, whether you feel like it or not. Whether it's convenient or not, whether you see immediate results or not, you do it because you decided to. This transforms everything. Because when you act without motivation, you prove to yourself that you're in control, that feelings don't dictate behavior, that commitment supersedes comfort. This capacity, acting without motivation, is essential for success in anything. Because success requires consistent action over extended time periods, and you won't be motivated for all of that time. Most of it will be routine, sometimes boring, often difficult. If you can only act when motivated, you'll never sustain effort long enough to succeed. Fifth, position yourself mentally and practically for opportunity. Mental positioning means expecting good things, scanning for opportunity, believing you're someone who gets breaks. This isn't wishful thinking. It's attention management. You see what you look for. If you expect opportunity, you notice it. If you expect struggle, you find it. Practical positioning means putting yourself in environments where opportunity exists. You can't seize opportunities you never encounter. If your life is structured to avoid risk and maintain comfort, you'll never encounter meaningful opportunities. But if you deliberately position yourself in situations where opportunity flows, where ambitious people gather, where deals happen, you increase your odds dramatically. This doesn't mean reckless risk. It means calculated exposure, attending events, building relationships, being visible, offering value, creating reasons for opportunities to find you rather than waiting passively and hoping. These 5 actions are your preparation work. They're not quick. They're not easy, but they're essential. And they must be done before circumstances demand them. Because when pressure arrives, you won't have capacity to build these things. You'll be using whatever capacity you already built. The question is simple. Will you prepare now while you can, or will you wait until crisis forces preparation under the worst possible conditions? Will you enter the next phase of your life strong and ready, or will you stumble into it unprepared and spend years recovering? Time is not unlimited. You have months, not years. Not because the calendar matters magically, but because preparation takes time and momentum waits for no one. The people who will succeed in the coming years are preparing right now. They're doing the work while others are coasting. They're building capacity while others are consuming. They're positioning while others are drifting. You can be one of them. But only if you decide now. Only if you commit fully. Only if you recognize that preparation looks invisible until it becomes decisive. That the future rewards those who arrive early. That those who wait for certainty are always late. What you do in the next 6 months will determine the next 6 years. Not because of magic, because of compound effects. The person you become during preparation periods determines what you can do during performance periods. If you use these months to build discipline, clarity, focus, and strong identity, you'll be capable of things that seem impossible now. If you waste these months drifting, you'll arrive at the same destination everyone else arrives at. Unprepared. Reactive. Behind. The choice is yours, but make it consciously, make it deliberately, make it now. Because time passes whether you prepare or not. Circumstances shift whether you're ready or not. Opportunity appears whether you can seize it or not. The only variable you control is whether you prepare. Prepare. Build yourself into someone capable of extraordinary things. Strengthen your mind, your habits, your discipline, your clarity. Do it quietly. Do it consistently. Do it before pressure arrives. And when circumstances shift, when momentum begins, when opportunity appears, you'll be ready. Not lucky. Ready. And that readiness will look like magic to everyone who didn't prepare. But you'll know the truth. It wasn't magic. It was months of deliberate preparation that nobody saw. That's the advantage. That's the edge. That's what separates those who succeed from those who struggle. You have everything you need. The only question is whether you'll use it. Whether you'll prepare before you must. Whether you'll become ready before circumstances demand it. Make that decision now, and let everything else follow from that decision. Your future self will thank you, or regret that you didn't. The choice is yours. Choose wisely. Choose now.